I rise to bring attention to the tragic Amtrak derailment that took at least 7 lives and caused over 140 injuries, including an Associated Press member from New Jersey, Jim Gaines of Plainsboro, New Jersey. And our thoughts and prayers are with the families of those who lost their lives. To those of us from New Jersey and those who live along the Northeast Corridor, they are our neighbors, our friends, our relatives. They could be us, and it hits especially close to home. I know because I take Amtrak virtually every week back to New Jersey. There was a period of time last night when I didn't know the whereabouts of my son Rob, who was scheduled to be on Amtrak back to New York. But I later found out that he was on the next train, immediately behind the one that derailed, and thankfully, he was safe. I'm grateful for that, but others were not so lucky. But luck should not be America's transportation policy. It's imperative that the cause of the derailment is fully investigated so that we can prevent tragedies like this in the future. I've already been on the phone with Transportation Secretary Anthony Foxx and continue to closely monitor the situation. I want to recognize the extraordinary work of our first responders. Once again, firefighters, police officers, emergency responders showed us what bravery is really all about. They ran to the crash site to save lives while others were running away, and for that we should all be grateful. Now, we don't know what caused this accident, but we do know that we need to invest in 21st century systems and equipment and stop relying on patchwork upgrades to old, rusted 19th century rail lines. You know, I travel Amtrak, as I said, virtually every week. I travel the Acela, which is supposed to be our high-speed rail. It's like shake, rattle, and roll. As a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, I've traveled in other countries in the world, like Japan. And they have a bullet train for which you virtually cannot feel anything while you're on the train, going in speeds far in excess of what we call high-speed rail. Now, there are still many questions we don't know the answer to. Was there human failure? Was there a mechanical failure? Were there infrastructure issues? Or was it a combination of issues? What we do know is that our rail passengers deserve safe and modern infrastructure. New Jersey, for example, is at the heart of the Northeast Corridor. It has long held a competitive advantage with some of the nation's most modern highways, an extensive transit network, and some of the most significant freight corridors in the world at the confluence of some of the largest and busiest rail lines, interstates, and ports. In a densely populated state like New Jersey, the ability to move people and goods safely and efficiently is critical to our economy and critical to our quality of life. But unfortunately, in recent years, New Jersey and the nation as a whole has fallen behind. We have 20 years maximum, before the Hudson River tunnels are taken out of service. 20 years may sound to maybe some of our young pages like a long time, but it's a flash of the eye. Think about what happens if we take either or both of those tunnels out of service without an alternative. Tunnels that are absolutely essential to moving people and goods in a region that contributes $3.5 trillion to our nation's economy, 20% of the entire nation's gross domestic product. Nationwide, 65% of major roads in America are in poor condition. 1 in 4 bridges in our nation need significant repair. There's an $808 billion backlog in highway and bridge investments needs. On the transit side, there's an $86 billion backlog of transit maintenance needs. Maintenance needs, not expanding, just maintaining that which we have. And it will take almost $19 billion a year through the year 2030 to bring our transit assets into good repair. These are just a handful of the statistics underscoring our nation's failure to invest in our transportation network. But we have to get beyond looking at the numbers on a page. We have to talk about what Congress's failure to act means to the people we represent, to every community, every commuter, every family, everyone who travels every day, and every construction worker looking for a job. Failure to act means construction workers now face a 10% unemployment rate at a time when our infrastructure is crumbling around us. They won't get the work they need. It means a business can't compete in a globalized economy because their goods can't get to market in time. It means a working mother is stuck in traffic and can't get home in time for dinner with her kids. And in the very worst cases like we saw yesterday on Amtrak, it might very well mean that a loved one is lost in a senseless tragedy. In Congress, we too often treat our infrastructure like it's an academic exercise, like it's numbers on a page that we adjust to score political points or balance a budget or make an argument about what types of transportation are worthy of our support. But that's not the real world. In the real world, the choices we make have an impact on people's lives, on their jobs, on their incomes. They have an impact on our nation's ability to compete. They have an impact on the safety of Americans and America's ability to lead the economy globally in the world. We in Congress are failing to recognize the real-world impacts of the choices we make about our transportation infrastructure. We have a passenger rail bill that expired in 2013. We have a highway trust fund on the brink of insolvency with no plans to fix it sustainably. We have a crowded and outdated aviation system that we refuse to adequately fund. We have failed to upgrade with presently available technologies that can reduce the number of failures. We have appropriation bills aiming to cut already low funding levels of Amtrak in particular to meet an arbitrary budget cap for the sake of a political point. I can't understand that. I can't understand it. We are living off the greatest generation's investment in infrastructure in this country. And we have done nothing to honor that investment, to sustain it, or to build upon it. And yet, Mr. President, nothing we're doing is aimed at fixing the problem. And our inaction comes with an extraordinarily high cost. So I can tell you, as the senior Democrat on the subcommittee on mass transit, I categorically reject the idea that we can't afford to fix our transportation system. The truth is, we can't afford not to fix it. The Amtrak disaster last night is a tragic reminder that we have to act. We are reminded of the tragic consequences of inaction and the impact of inaction on the lives of workers and families, on their lives and their ability to get to work and do their jobs with confidence that they will be safe. So, as a member of the Finance Committee and a ranking member of the Transit Subcommittee, I've been advocating that we act as soon as possible. We can't keep pretending the problem is going to resolve itself if we just wait long enough. We simply can't afford to wait. And I hope that everyone in this chamber, Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike, will come together, will work together, and make real progress in building a future that we can be proud of. We can start by putting politics aside and think about the safety of the American people. Think about the future. Think about America's competitiveness and finding common ground to do whatever it takes to invest in America's railroads, ports, highways, and bridges, invest in our future. So let's not wait until there is another tragic headline or to see the consequences of what flows as people along the entire Northeast Corridor are trying to figure out alternatives in the midst of a system that is now shut down for intercity travel. And all the transit lines of states and regions within the Northeast Corridor that depend upon using Amtrak lines to get to different destinations for their residents, to get people to one of the great hospitals along the Northeast Corridor, to get people to their nation's capital to advocate with their government, to get people and their sales forces of companies to work, to get home. Let's not wait until we have another tragedy to think about the consequences of our transportation system, what it means to the nation, or to see until the next time which lives are lost. I think we can do much better, Mr. President, and I have faith that hopefully this will be a crystallizing moment for us on this critical issue. And with that, I yield the floor and observe the absence of a quorum.